Jeremy Saland joins us now. He is a criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor. Jeremy, as we heard Chloe mention there, the defense moving for a mistrial claiming prosecutorial misconduct. The judge has denied that motion, but it's not uncommon, right, to see defense teams in any case make a motion like this. But I'm curious, from your experience, is there anything that we can glean from the fact that they did ask for this mistrial in terms of how maybe the defense feels this case is going?
No, this is typical. It's not atypical. This is something that regularly happens. And in between, when the prosecution rests, you're going to ask not for a mistrial, but you ask for a dismissal. These are ordinary things that they do. And you also want to remember, sometimes you're playing for after the fact, meaning you have a right to appeal. And when you appeal, you want to preserve that record. And this was certainly worthy of that preservation to say, wait a second, is there an undue prejudice? Is there something that was said by or asked by the prosecution that could make the jury think that Sean Combs had his hands in the destruction of these fingerprints? So it was worthy and important to do, but let's not overthink it. They were just doing their job.
Okay. Talk to us about what we heard on the stand today. Deontay Nash testifying pretty extensively about violence and threats allegedly from Sean Diddy Combs. But Combs is not on trial for assault. We've heard his defense team point this out even in their opening argument, saying, look, you're going to hear that he's a bad guy. We admit he did domestically abuse people, but that's not what he's on trial for, right? He is on trial for racketeering and sex trafficking, among other very specific charges. Did that testimony help the prosecution prove their case? And if so, how?
Well, listen, if you remember the other day, I said to you those three important factors: corroboration, corroboration, and corroboration. We're going to add another one, another corroboration, because we have someone who says, listen, Cassie got hit in the head at one point and was bleeding. There's been multiple corroboration of domestic violence. There was a concern about him stealing and having his home checked. There was the blackmailing or threats to the family about releasing the video or videos of Cassie. So it goes to the coercion element of the sex trafficking. But I would say the following still: where is the conspiracy? Where is the criminal enterprise? The prosecution needs to get over this hurdle because, to your point moments ago, this is not a domestic violence case in state court for beating someone up and doing reprehensible things. The prosecution still needs to get there. They're starting to bring it out and bringing out those underlying elements to establish the RICO, like the kidnapping, like the arson, but they're not there yet. It's slowly coming out.
If prosecutors are going to win this case, what would you say they need to do in the coming days to make sure the jury agrees with their view of what happened here?
Yeah, I think they need to establish that this really is a criminal enterprise. There is a structure with that same shared criminal goal of trafficking women and people and kidnapping and arson and drugs. They need to get there, and they haven't done it yet. We need people on the inside explaining what's going on, and they were, I use the term cahoots, that's not necessarily a legal term, but they were part of this. So I think they're getting past the initial lower crime of the sex trafficking, which is 15 years. Or more. That's significant for a man his age or anyone, but they still need to get out the rest in those underlying predicate acts and establishing that enterprise and that criminality, shared common mindset for Sean Combs to ultimately be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for the RICO conspiracy top count charge.
All right, a lot to watch in the coming days. Jeremy Saland, thank you.
My pleasure.